One of the other things that we're very proud of, we continue to move up and to the right. So space, you can see who we are. Continue your analysis by IDC, which included IDC MarketScape report for yourselves to look at. We're very proud of continuing up into the with it against good-sized competitor Citrix and so again, here's a part of our solution set, right? And what we're trying to look at goals and benefits, how you're doing it. I mentioned this earlier. Increasing their productivity, there's improvement to diversify service delivery, right? So you can be on any solution set, any device, anywhere, as well as lowering costs and getting challenges. So again, our program, we're really looking at things, so transforming. The solution really needs high value, the level of oftentimes these are the come up. In a budget, you're trying to ensure that it is secure or compliant within HIPAA, whether it's in finance and so more so into manufacturing. Working with applications, we have partners or software vendor. They have developed, applications that aren't really software as a service model. How do you go to market with that? You tool your entire environment, so and at what cost, current base of customers, and at what cost to your organization from a capital perspective. And that leads right into to develop. How long does it take to develop that solution set and bring it supporting the customer? And then about so I will make an adjustment to the microphone. I'll have to stop sharing my screen. So all right, so can you tell me if the volume has improved? All right, so I'm going to go back. All right, so very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that feedback. So as we move through the inhibitors, what we've developed as a solution set is really predicated around a concept, and a term we'll use is virtual client computing. Right? So how do you deploy across any device your solution set and gain access to it securely and like I said, depending on how the infrastructure is deployed, we don't care whether it's on premises, your customer's premises, your data center, or even a public data center like Microsoft or AWS or Google. So again, with our solution set, and again, I think it's very important to understand and delineate from a cost perspective as well. When you deploy our solution set, you're getting all of this down here at the bottom as a single license cost monthly. So it includes web access on any device. It's very secure and it's stayed. So the protocols that we're using are tried, true, and tested within the IT infrastructure space. And it's really, as we develop this solution set from a licensing cost, it's about reducing TCO, but you'll see much further why there's even more to the TCO conversation to be had. So here's how it helps you as service providers, right? We can extend that value to your customers. Very simplifying set of solution sets, very simplified to manage and maintain. We also think we've done a very good job at developing a user interface, whether you're using the client or the clientless versions of our solution. And we've customized that particularly in the mobile space for native hand gestures as an example, to mimic much of the same uses that a desktop solution with a mouse as an example would use. So the experience, if you're mobilizing an application and people are using it on a tablet, is very similar to a desktop type of solution. And this is very, very helpful for many of the folks in the medical fields. Love the solution set because it makes a very simplified tablet interface to a desktop solution that can be carried around wherever within the environment. Easy to use. Again, as I said, one of the features that we've added recently is a multi-tenant solution. So if you're supporting multiple customers, trying to keep them separated but under one common infrastructure. So if you have your own data center as an example, or you're doing it even within a public infrastructure, you can do so in a single instance and and leverage your common infrastructure for multiple tenants. And we'll find this out as you're going through and building your models. But what we see in application of this and support of partners, that there's an increased monthly revenue stream that gets added on as you're providing this as a service. So we think we built this, what we call a win-win business model. It's very simple. There's low barriers to get into this. There's no commitments on your part. So if you don't use this and deploy it, you're not paying us. So there's no subscription, if you will, that you have to pay. There's no prepayments on the licensing, and we'll support you 7x24 so long as you're part of this program. Apologize, keep moving too quickly through the slides. So here's the value, right? For you as a service provider, doesn't matter if you're, like I said, a managed service provider, you get these benefits, right? It's a very simple way to deploy a solution set. So if you're coming from a Citrix or a VMware environment, one of the things that we hear very often is can't believe that it can be this simple to deploy and even simpler so to manage and maintain. As I mentioned, also, we have quite a few independent software vendors as well. And I think our key benefits to software vendors are those that have the challenges developing and deploying a SaaS model today. We enable you the tools and the delivery mechanism to do so today without having to rewrite your code. So the values are here. As we go through, you'll see this iterated time and time again throughout this presentation. But it is a very profitable solution set for service providers. It's very easy to see quickly the value that this brings, and it helps you, particularly in situations where we are today, to deploy remote and access and solution sets very quickly. You can scale it up and scale it down, and the licensing supports that as well. So you pay as you go. You may be high on one month and then low on the next. You pay for what you use month in, month out. So let's take a look at some of the solutions that this program and this particular software solution provides as well. And from a programmatic perspective, the way that we've developed the partner program is very simply around a framework of succeeding. So it's a high value solution, very cost effective to deploy, and we wrap that all up with a very, very comprehensive 7x24 support model. So RAS today, as we look at it, again, remote application server, we've cultivated the evolution of this product towards our service providers. So whether, like I said before, whether you're publishing applications or whether you're putting out desktops or even full-blown virtual desktop integration, VDI, we provide that on any device. It can be multi-tenant. We provide load balancing as part of this solution set as well, and then the reporting capabilities on the back end to do so. Reporting, meaning we can also sublicense your key, or you have the authority to sublicense your key. So if you want to break your sessions out by customer, by license for each customer, you can do so. What's the benefit of doing so? Well, the benefit in a sublicense key is you can establish the thresholds by which a customer has access to the system, as well as you can limit the number of users that customer has that can gain access to it. So in this instance, with the current coronavirus situation and a lot of the force to work in place, remote access, we've had several partners who have had a limited number of customers, let's say 100, that have access to the solution set, and all of a sudden demand jumps to 200. So that's a simple conversation that the partner's having with the customer, and then they're going in and adjusting the sublicense to move from 100 users to 200, and it doesn't happen without you taking control of that, so that you've got the mechanism in place with your customer to bill it and to negotiate terms prior to it happening. So again, these feature sets, as you look at the solution set relative to maybe what you're using today, we believe, and we've seen time and time again, creates an unbeatable total cost of ownership to you, the partner. And here's the other thing for us, it doesn't matter how you deploy this. So the single license key enables you to deploy it at a customer site, in a public cloud, or a combination of the two. Oh, by the way, when it comes to being agnostic, we are hypervisor agnostic, and we're also hyper-converged. So if you're deploying across a hyper-converged solution set for your customers or within your own data center, if you're using Nutanix or Scale, we support that very easily. And we are agnostic. So when we look at the design of the core feature sets and the underlying architecture of the solution set, we've done so looking at a very broad segment of users and a broad segment of manufacturers that are deploying solutions today. So we know you're going to be coming from, more than likely from brand X, and needing to integrate this solution into a myriad of other components that you're already managing, either at your customer site or within your own environments. And as you look at our solution set, we believe you'll see a very eloquent and superior user experience. So again, I mentioned some of these before. The native gestures, drag and drop is a key feature for you. So you can drag to and drop to a desktop or a user environment, and you can move back the other way. So if you need to move from a device or from a desktop back into the corporate infrastructure for sharing documents as an example, you can do so bilaterally. We've automated with some AI components around logins, so logins or broadcast storms. So everybody's coming into the office at 9 o'clock. We have some AI components built in to learn how customers come into the solution set and pre-configure and virtualize those instances is already being logged in. And let's not forget our heritage, right? One of the other things that we've done very well is printing and scanning. So universal printing and scanning it was one of the key features that really brought our solution set to many service providers. We continue to support and evolve the product. And lastly, on this slide, I'll say with single sign-on. Single sign-on has been huge for us. Whether it's multi-factor authentication, we've also just recently integrated SAML integration as well. So we have tools, both APIs as well as the architectural components built into RAS, the console, so that you can manage and integrate that into whatever form of authentication your customers are using. Sorry. So one of the other key features that I mentioned before is it's a very secure product, right? So again, not just because it's centralized, but again, the security protocols that we're using and the encryption we are using is very staid. And again, when it comes to multi-factor authentication, we can also integrate things such as smart card authentication. So depending on your customer's sensitivity and or compliance demands for security, we believe we have a security solution set that will meet the need and the requirement. And again, when it comes to how we deploy, we think we're pretty agile. It's simple. It's a one-stop solution for deployment and licensing. So there's no super duper data center requirement that you need, or meaning licensing requirement, and it is a purely pay-as-you-go model. Additionally, doesn't matter what OS you're on, we support, and we're also OS agnostic. So when you think about that, the ability to deploy across any type of solution set or hybrid environment, as well as being hypervisor and hyper-converged agnostic, that you've got a very scalable product. Again, easy to deploy, easy for me to say. I think what you would want to do is look at demoing the solution set. I'm not going to get into a demo of the product today, but I will say we do have and provide free demo license keys. And if you need a further analysis or help in understanding if this is a fit, we're happy to set up a one-on-one call, because we know many providers have unique instances that they're trying to support or deploy, and oftentimes it's a one-on-one call. So we're happy to do that. Generally, we set those calls up with the technical teams for about an hour, and based on your inputs of what you're trying to do with your use case, we'll customize the presentation to you, and then follow that up again with a demo key so that you can take your use case and test it to ensure that this solution set works for you. So all of this adds up again to a reduced TCO. We haven't even talked about training and certification, both for yourselves and for your customers, but you can see with a one model license, the reduction of complexity, and again, not a lot, there's no add-ons, right? You're just working within a construct of either using it as a clientless access solution through a browser, or you can have this installed within a client, or even onto thin clients as well. We have quite a few thin client manufacturers that we work with as well. So, and then clearly the cost to you from a licensing perspective is very, very attractive, and it is a pay-as-you-go model, so you're never exposed. So let's talk a little bit about that licensing model, how it works, and the cost to you as you build out. So years ago, we started this whole process around the SPLA licensing program, so Service Providing Licensing Agreement, which is what SPLA stands for. It's a Microsoft acronym, if you don't know. And so we issue a single SPLA license key, and that is your key for production. We also provide, like I said, trial keys and NFR keys, so you have the ability to deploy a test environment and or for utilization of your own team's internal use as well as for demoing. But for production, we allow you to develop a multitude of different farms, all serviced in this instance under a single license key. So that's what the slide as it evolves will represent the single license key. Again, starting from the left here, it can be on client, it can be an on-premise, it can be an Azure AWS, hosting center, your own data center, doesn't matter. You can deploy that key against the instances of the servers for RAS across a multitude, and we aggregate the utilization throughout the day. So in this instance, it's aggregating in red the peak utilization throughout the month. CU means concurrent users. So we are based on concurrent utilization. So we take a measure at the beginning of the month and a measure at the end of the month. And the day within that window of measurement that has the highest number of concurrent users is the quantity we use to bill you monthly. And that's what this is representing. So it has 1,430 concurrent users for July. So we would take 1,430, multiply that times the rate that you've signed up for, and that would be your monthly bill. So in this instance, if it's $10 per concurrent user, it would be $14,300, right, for the month. Of course, the numbers I use is for simple math because I'm simple. It's not $10 per month per user. So we also give you a management portal. So as a partner, you do have access to partner portal. That's important because it enables you to get access to resources, whether it's the knowledge base, a simple window into opening trouble tickets should you need support. It's also a place where you can look at overall utilization and management. This is very helpful. We find for mid and large partners who have multitudes of customers to be able to break it out so that billing, the accounting team can go in and look at utilizations and make sure that things are being billed accordingly. So it's a way of giving you another window into and access to the utilization from a consumer perspective, or what your customers are consuming. You can also see this within same type of information through the management console. So again, trying to make this as simple as possible for you and for your sub teams that are supporting your business. So let's get into the pricing model. So before we get into dollars and cents, just please understand this is a full featured product set, a single license, and that includes application publishing, full-blown VDI or remote desktop services. We also have a remote PC component. So we do know that there are people that do need access to a particular stranded device or a lockdown device. There is that component within this as well. All device clients and HTML5. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it clientless or client-based, and that includes thin clients. includes a high availability load balancing solution and the reporting mechanisms, and 7x24 support. So to that end, here's how pricing breaks down. So if you have 1 to 500 users, it starts at $5 per month, and that is cost to you. So as a service provider, it is $5 cost to you per user per month, and then your upcharge to that. And oftentimes we're seeing 2 to 4 times that coming back from the customer. So again, the margin of this solution set is very high. Plus, you're enveloping or developing other components to your solutions that you're providing to your customers, which equate to value. So oftentimes, it's very, very margin rich. And it goes up from there. So you can see how this scales up. And yes, we do have customers and partners within the 20,000 plus range. And we're very happy to show you how to architect the solution as well. So cost is one thing, but how does it scale, and how do you scale at that level from a small set of farms to a very large deployment across a multitude of different customers or a very large enterprise? We've been there. We can help you. So the third piece, so as we talk through, right, we talked about the simplicity of the art design, the eloquence of the solution. We talked about the TCO from a purely cost perspective, right, a single license. So that framework to succeed that we've talked about, this is the third component of that. How do you wrap all of that goodness up and tie it off with a bow? And you do that with a very simple and eloquent support model for our partners. So within that are requirements. Again, no upfront fees, no minimum usage commitments. We do ask that you understand how to deploy SPLA licensing or CSP, Cloud Service Provider licensing. It's key because there are Microsoft components that do come along with this from a licensing perspective. So you just want to make sure that you understand how to do that, so you are pricing your solution sets accordingly to your customers based on your total cost of deploying a solution. We do ask that you maintain at least two technical certifications. Our technical certification is a 4-hour virtual course. We host it monthly. We do generally within the first week of the month. We host a call, and it's basically steps your technical teams through the best practices in setting up a remote application server environment. And then within that, there's tips and tricks. It's a very hands-on and very engaging a conversation, because we know there are nuances to how things get set up. So oftentimes these calls can run into 5 hours, but at the end of that, there's a certification exam. They log in through the portal, take the exam, and you're certified. Certifications are good for 2 years. And I think that's probably a good inflection point too, to talk about product evolution and releases throughout the year. We're really down to one major release a year, and then generally that comes in the fall, so it's September, October timeframes, and then we do some minor sub releases throughout the year. So that's why we can get by with 2 years on a certification being good. Most recently, so that doesn't mean we don't add features. We do. Most recently, we've been re-architecting the solution set, and two of our biggest and newest features that just came into 17.1, which released the end of last year, was the multi-factor authentication with SAML, as well as multi-tenancy. So those are both key for us. They really underlined a lot of architectural changes that we made. So, and then lastly, we ask that you complete an annual partner profile. And the reason for that is that it keeps your information current. So as we have other sellers So we do have folks that do sell within the enterprise space. Oftentimes, enterprises are looking for partners who can deploy, so it's a form of lead generation. So as we look, we want to make sure that we have your profile up to date, so that we, when opportunities do present themselves, that we know who out there is in the healthcare vertical, as an example, or the manufacturing or finance verticals, or somebody who does private data centers for a particular set of industries. So that's where the partner profile it, it comes from, and the requirement for it, and that's it. I mean, there's no dollars and cents attached to this. It's, again, it's, you pay for what you use, and as long as you're using it, we're happy to support you 7/24. I think I've gone through this, but let's just tick through it to make sure. Um, I think you can read this. I'll just leave you with the last one. I did mention this before, but we do provide a not for resale license, or an NFR key. Once you're on board and you have your first customer in place, we'll support you. We just want to make sure that you get the solution deployed and you're up and running. And then the NFR keys come for, again, creating sandbox environments, creating demos for salespeople to go out and demo the solution to customers, but we do support that as well. So what are our next steps? So if you are still, after all of this, have an interest in looking at this further, here's how you can do so. And I will make this deck available to everybody that's on the call. I'll send it out to you, so you have all of this information as well. And I'm going to stop there because I just saw something pop up in the queue. Ajit, you do have a question. If you want to go ahead and post it in the chat, I'm happy to do so. We can take that now because we're about to wrap up on the presentation piece. But I'll throw that out there, and if not, we can also take it offline after the presentation. If you have interest based on what you've seen today in pursuing us and joining our partner program, it's a very simple web link to get to. It's a simple form to fill out, and we'll route it to the appropriate person on my team that will follow up with you and start the process. So with that, I don't see, I'll give Ajit another moment or so here if you have a question. Otherwise, Ajit, I will follow up with you directly after this presentation. But that's all I have for today. So I want to thank you all for joining and your interest here. Again, we've had a tremendous amount of interest in the solution set, as you can well imagine, and we're here. So we continue to work. We're pretty much all work from home at this point, but we do have people all over the country. Go ahead, Ajit. I can see you're coming back in. What is your question? Okay, so the question is, can we access through the official Windows remote desktop RDP client without using an RDS Cal? No, you cannot. That is why I made point in the partner slide to ensure that you understand the Microsoft licensing component. Because we are part of the RDS solution, we do sit on top of that. So as you deploy our licenses, you still need the Microsoft user Cal licenses. And again, if you're not familiar, Microsoft will allow you to license those either by user or by device. And most organizations deploy based on users. So a user could come through a multitude of different devices. Which is also one last thing I didn't mention, but I will. It brings up a good point. Our licensing is based on the user utilization, not the device. So a user could be on a clientless version of it and then move to their mobile device, that session is a continuous session. It's not a multiple session. So it's based on the user. So we don't double count based on how our user is accessing the solution set. We count it based on the user. All right, well, with that, I will give you the bulk of the day. I promise to be here 35, 40 minutes, and I'll give you 22 minutes back in your day. I do, again, we will follow up with each of you through email, and I will send out with that a copy of this deck so you can refer to the links and barcodes that were embedded in this for future. Again, thank you for your interest, and we'll be talking to you soon. Have a good day.